and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream, but execute, not only believe, but build, not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses. It needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas. It rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our events. Share your story. Connect with like. Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream, but execute, Not only believe, but build. Not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses. It needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas. It rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our events, share your story, connect with like. Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream, but execute, not only believe, but build, not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses. It needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas. It rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our events, share your story, connect with like Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream, but execute, not only believe, but build, not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses. It needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas. It rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our events, share your story, connect with like Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream, but execute, not only believe, but build, not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses. It needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas. It rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our events. Share your story. Connect with like Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream, but execute, not only believe, but build, not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses. it needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders, it needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas, it rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, not separated, but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream, but execute, not only believe, but build, not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses, it needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders, it needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas, it rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our events. Share your story. Connect with like. Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation, but execute. Not only believe, but build. Not only pray, but perform with excellence. The world doesn't just need more businesses. It needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas. It rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you are a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our events. Share your story. Connect with like
I'm also standing on the opposite side reading. That's how determined I was to like stay up to date with the powerful and the mighty. I don't know how that started, but I do know that about a year ago, it became I started telling people online about doing things like that. And at a certain point, God said, "That's going to be your work," without without my permission, because it was like a cute side gig, but it now became a main thing. So it's really God's fault if you want to ask. I don't know how I got there. What I was. Hmm. Um. This feels like a trap, but I'll do my best. So so for what, because like that eventually it will be found out. It's not worth there be an active. continuous determination to get better than it was before. Because I don't think that anyone is perfect. So anyone I work with, I don't consider them to have attained perfection in anything. Even in, if for instance the person says I'm an excellent HR professional, there will be someone whose experience of them may not have been the most excellent. And I keep telling them, yes, those people exist. And even if those experiences are valid, what's important is you take the learnings from that non excellent situation and still improve upon presenting yourself. Some of them are not Christian, but those who are, I even say it helps you to better represent God. So that's how I approach it with my clients. But I think fundamentally, if you are not, if I need something to work with, if we are building your brand from scratch, I need something to work with. So it has to be something that you can at least build competence in. Then from there, we can say that you can do XYZ. And I try to tell them it's better to understand that that is who you are. So one of the things I tell people who speak to me all the time is I'm very lazy. It's not because it is be to represent God better. So I go ahead and do those things. So that's how I navigate it for myself and for my clients.
I see. Okay, Anna. Right. So, so you're a venture builder. It's very bold on your LinkedIn, like I said. And to a certain degree, you've helped businesses, the independent consulting, helping them build their businesses and stuff like that, right? Um, on the venture, to advise that, hey, I think you should tweak this way, you should do this that way. So on the baseline, what's the baseline definition for you when it comes to building a venture or building a career,
Mm-hmm.
in an excellent way? How would you put it?
Okay. Um, yeah, I like what Kenny shared
Yeah.
around representing who you are, right? And I think it's similar, right? Who's the person that I'm working with, and what do they believe in? As I was listening to Kenny, I was just thinking, well, um, where I currently work,
Mm-hmm.
one of the key things, aside all the skills you bring on board, I think one of the key deal breakers is actually your values, right? We have a set of values, 5 values that everybody embodies. And when I think of excellence, I also think about what the business should embody. And what a business embodies is what the founder embodies. A couple of years ago, I was working with an organization, and they were able to literally sell the business to the employees to the point where the employees felt like they owned the business as well, right? So when I say excellence, I feel it's like, how do you create a ripple effect in whatever you are building to the point where it's showing the quality, it's reflecting, um, it's reflecting a certain standard, right? It's reflecting a standard that you yourself are willing to pay for. Most of the time, if I'm speaking to someone who is selling something substandard,
Mm-hmm.
I ask myself, if I sold this to you, would you pay for it?
Mm.
Mostly they wouldn't answer it. They'll say, "Oh, I'll take." Recently, someone was telling me, "Oh, I'll take responsibility for it." But if it's food and it's gone bad and your tummy is aching, how did you take responsibility for it?
Yeah.
So I think that excellence really starts from who you are as a person, the spirit of excellence in you, the the way you carry yourself, the value of excellence. And key thing with excellence is also vision,
Mm.
right? That's why I was speaking about who the owner is. A business is an entity founded by somebody, and the excellence of that individual almost always impacts the business more than many people think. So I'll pause there.
Let me put that on like a very personal level. Outside the business, say I'm an individual.
Mhm.
I'm a doctor, for
Mhm.
example. And you just mentioned that casting the vision is a great doctor.
Mhm.
how does vision affect excellence in my work?
Okay. So how does vision affect? So you're going to work every day. Doctors are on call sometimes at midnight. My brother is on call 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I really understand how those things are like. You need something that will drive you,
Okay.
right? Purpose can drive you, and most of the time, what helps you not get mediocre? Okay, so I'm always doing my work well. Maybe I'm suturing. I'm like, I'm always doing it well, but today I'm so tired. Let me just do it this way. What will make you do that is vision health to people, for me to reflect Christ, to bring salvation to people. Your vision is what God gives you for the career you're in, for the business you're running. Keeping that in mind, or front and center, not at the back of your mind, but front and center, is one of the key things that helps you bring out excellence.
Get it. Get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so both of you have clearly it's we're both believers and Christians. In your when you're talking, Kenny, can you hear me? Kenny, I can't hear you.
I was saying that if you could speak up just a little bit,
Okay.
it'll be
So I was saying that.
easier.
So from what when you guys were speaking, there was a constant mention of um, God and Christ and reflecting the glory of God. Excellence. You mentioned that, well, okay, so as a believer, as a Christian, I have to be excellent in this way, and as a you also said the same thing that setting a vision means that um, knowing that God has brought you here for a purpose to reflect His glory and to reflect Him. Is there a difference? So if I take myself and who's a believer, great philosophy channel on YouTube, right? Doing good numbers, great production. Is there a difference between the excellence should there be a difference between the excellence he exudes as an unbeliever and me who's a believer? Like, so Kenny, you take that first for us.
Think excellence are different from if you are not. Because at the end of my life, the expectation is that God will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." It's not an appraisal, like in the worldly world, where they'll say, "You've done well, I give you a promotion, or I give you more money, or perhaps we give you another responsibility." Yes, there are variants of that in the spiritual world as well, but the end goal is that God will be pleased and magnified in whatever it is we are doing. By the world standards, it's okay to be shrewd. In fact, it's encouraged in certain parts of the world. In politics, for instance, you're expected to be confrontational. You're expected to expose your opponent's weaknesses. You're expected to play dirty. It's expected to use the example of Daniel. The fact that Daniel could represent the God that he served in an environment where he was surrounded by everyone else who did not follow that same standard.
Mm-hmm.
But he followed that standard to the point where they were able to acknowledge that you have something we don't have, and that's what brought them to that saving grace. So for me, it's the fact that I will give account of everything that I've done before a God whose standards are very different from that of the world, and He expects me and the people who claim to represent Him to carry themselves with a certain kind of excellence, such that people would say, "You couldn't have done this if God was not with you." So the results of your life and the things that you do must reflect him in a way that not necessarily shows that you are impotent, but that the person who is backing you is. So that's how I look at it. I definitely think that the fruits of your work, of your excellence, must speak and point directly to God. In the world, they'll say it points to you and your great.
Anna.
Yeah, and with what she said on Daniel, the spirit of excellence, and just adding on that, recently I was reading some we call dignitaries, ambassadors, presidents, Your Excellency. And I was like, okay, why do we use your excellency?
Yeah.
Right? And how does that match up with excellence? Okay, Egypt, Moses, the Israelites. Egypt was a superpower, right? And Kenny was talking about how in the marketplace there are things that are praised that may not necessarily please God. There were gods in Egypt, and you would notice that Moses came against so many things that the gods could not come against through the plagues, right? There were different plagues that came, and it was Moses that had to overturn each and every one of them. God was trying to make a statement that if you come in your level of the Lord God of all is above all, right? And to the point where when they were able to cross the Red Sea, they came out and they had this, should I say they were like jubilating, saying all sorts of things that would praise God. And in Exodus 15, I noticed it said that they were talking about God, and they said, in the greatness of your excellence, you overthrew your enemies or overcame your enemies. And I'm like, I never thought about excellence that way. That in the greatness of God's excellence, that's how come Moses overcame. So when I think of excellence on a certain level as well, just like how Daniel was able to thrive in Babylon, if we are carrying the greatness of God's excellence, if you read other version, it talks about the majesty, the influence, the authority, and the power of God. It's like you are a walking powerhouse that can overturn an industry overnight. Because Moses just stretched out a rod and they escaped.
Yeah.
So for me, I just kept thinking about it. The greatness of God's excellence, the greatness of his authority, the greatness of his influence. We are supposed to embody Christ, right? So it means that you and I can go into the media industry. You and I can go into anywhere in tech, cybersecurity, wherever you want to go into. Because God is sending us, because Moses was sent, right? He didn't go on his own. You go there, you're sent there, and you can actually overhaul it. Who said that we should always bow to the terms of people? But that's what we get tempted to do most of the time as children of God who go into the marketplace and want to succeed, right? We want to break through and get a contract in mining, in manufacturing, in so many different places, and we are like, I have to bow. You have to bow. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't bow. If they bowed, they would have burned, right? So I think that other dimension of remembering that there's a certain aura a president carries. When he enters the room, people will listen. So when you enter the room and they say, pay this, the power of God that is able to allow and enable the Red Sea open up can make them listen to you. And on your accounts, things will change. In fact, it will not just work for you, but they will change the policy for it to work for you. But I don't know how much of that we are even leveraging or using as children of God to really change things where we are working or in the businesses we are in. So I guess it's a friction and a temptation, but we need to really understand who we are as children of God.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So from what you and Kenny have said, just trying to break it down for myself, is that yes, there's a difference between a Christian's excellence or a believer's excellence because you're backed by God, and that in the excellence of the secular men and women in the marketplace, there are things that are praised and applauded, but they may not exactly be excellent. The fact that they are praised and hailed in the marketplace, but then the key marker of that for us as Christians is that we carry the spirit of excellence. I'll touch on that again. We touch on that, and that we are backed by God. And it's good that you mentioned that when you carry the spirit of excellence backed by God, it leaves a dent. You know, like Moses overcoming a superpower. The story is told of Abraham Lincoln. During he's hailed as the greatest president America has ever had. And in the heart of the civil war, you know, the unrest between the South and the North. After the resolution and everything, in his notes, they realized he said something similar, and that the Lord was with me in His excellence. You know, and this man who worked with that consciousness, after he left the scene, is considered the greatest president America's ever seen. You take John D. Rockefeller, right, the richest man in written history. In his autobiography, in his biography, The Titan, he always kept saying that the Lord has called me to this, and he built like the greatest business empire the world has ever seen.
Exactly.
And so it's like, if as a believer, if I am committed that my excellence is going to come from the Lord, I'm going to please God and not the people in the marketplace, I will not just be praised, I'll leave a dent. You know, like a dent will be made in the universe, right? So it's good to touch on that. So moving forward, spirit of excellence. A question to both of you again. Is it imparted or it is cultivated? You know, when you say the spirit of excellence and that the spirit of the excellence is on me, is it something I can come to Anna, I can come to you, I can go to my pastor, or somebody I think is thriving or doing excellence, and kneel down before the person and then they pray for me? Can it come to me through prayer, or what is it? How do I carry the spirit of excellence? Kenny, will you start for us? Okay.
Hi, Bill. I just heard you mention my name, so I'm assuming you're asking me something. If you asked me a question, I didn't hear it.
I'm saying that, would you touch on that for us? That what it means? The spirit of excellence, how do we work in it? Is it imparted? Do we cultivate it? You know, does it come through prayer, or it comes through certain actionable steps for us as believers? How does that look like?
Hmm, that's interesting. So I know that, again, I keep going back to Daniel. I know that Daniel was repeatedly described as having an excellent spirit, which meant that excellence is a spirit. But I don't know if I have ever come across a verse that implies that the spirit of excellence is imparted. So I do know that, for instance, character and certain giftings come from God. In fact, scripture says that it is God who works in us to will and do his good pleasure. And the Bible also tells us that the the fruits of the spirit, should I say, for want of a better word, they form character in us. There's also a verse that says that the Spirit of God gave Bezalel this. He was filled with the Spirit for craftsmanship. So, to a certain extent, I guess you can say that God stirs it up within us to carry out certain things. It's a certain divine empowerment on the inside, but then there's also our our ability to steward what God has placed in us. Um, and I guess, should I say, as we allow Him to work through us and willingly submit ourselves to the process, that excellence becomes, should I say, tangible fruits in our lives. To the extent that maybe someone would look at Daniel today. I look at Daniel and it's like a prayer point. I declare in the name of Jesus that I also have a spirit of excellence. It's because of his example today that I can say I want that for myself. But I don't think of it as a one-time impartation. I may be wrong, but from what I understand, yes, God will most likely empower you, probably anoint you with the skills you need, but you also require devoting yourself to the process and being disciplined enough to bear the fruits that come with that spirit of excellence.
Okay,
Yes.
Anna.
Yeah, certainly everything she said. And if there was one word that came to mind as she spoke was competency. When you're going for an interview, they would look at all your skills, or if you're even doing like an assessment. I keep using those examples because I've done plenty recruitment and working with businesses, and you would assess the person, right, on different things, right? Their technical ability, know-how, knowledge, and then you come to a certain place and they say competency skills. And even sometimes with competency, you can say there's intermediary, there's beginners, there's high proficiency, right? And that's the same thing I would probably ascribe to excellence. And when you're talking about the spirit of excellence, that it is the spirit of excellence. You take as much of it as you can. Some may take 10% beginner level, some may take 50%, some may take 100%. The extent to which you embody Christ. If you're born again, you're born again. You have embodied, the Holy Spirit is in you, but do you know everything? Are you as patient as you should be? Are you as kind as you should be? Are you as loving as you should be? And I think it's similar to the spirit of excellence, where you need to get to the maximum. You may not start from there, but the more you renew your mind on why you're doing what you're doing, on your day-to-day reading the Bible, knowing what God is saying to you about your life, about your business, about why you're here, the more you go into that, the more you embody excellence, because it's God's nature. It's like saying God is love. God is excellent. I think you can use both hand in hand. Like the same way you say God is love, God is excellent, God is faithful. We can get comfortable saying God is excellent. And so to what extent do you carry agape love?
Yeah.
Do I carry agape love? I think it's similar. I shared a story a few weeks ago with some people about the spirit of excellence around what you asked. Is, does your pastor pray on it for you, or do you receive it by impartation of some sort? And I shared an interesting story. The first time I heard about the spirit of excellence, it was in uni. I think in my second year of uni. And I think I was in a prayer meeting or somewhere like that. And we're just praying it, like how Kenny says she prays it, uses that as an example. But for some reason, it caught my attention. Like, and I have been praying it ever since. And what that particular season taught me when I came across that scripture, I was in my second year, first semester, and it was a very tough semester. Very tough. I was trying to do campus politics, and I was trying to catch up with school. And I remember asking the Lord to establish me in the realm of excellence. I didn't even know what I was saying, but it's just like saying, okay, you're a rich person. God has blessed you. How do you cash out on that, right? I just kept praying a simple prayer. Nothing, just that line, Father, I receive excellence. I receive the spirit of excellence. And as I pray that particular semester, my GPA shocked me, right? And I keep talking about that example because there were other semesters that were easier. The grade I got in the semester where I did all I could, it wasn't that I didn't study, but I did everything possible. But I know that there was that power of God that also carried it, that made my results look like this was not just my power, not just my might. And what shocked me was I kept praying that, and I just felt like I have just been, it's almost like you now understand that there's something, like there's an advantage you have, and that advantage is called excellence. And so because you're excellent, your GPA will never go below a certain level. And my GPA never went below a certain level after that. And I think since then, I've carried that mindset that, look, excellence, it's almost like when in somewhere in Isaiah 60 it talks about even the least is a mighty nation. How can the least of God's people be a mighty nation? And yes, Jesus says you're a royal priesthood and a holy nation. It means that even if you do your barest minimum, it's the best. And it doesn't mean you should do the barest minimum. Right? So what is the spirit of excellence? To me, it is aiming for the best and allowing God to put you above the skies. Study as if it depends on you. Research for your business. Prepare. Don't just fold your arms as a child of God, praying all day without direction. Just pray any prayer God didn't lead you to pray. Or just live anyhow and say you expect that because God says you are great, you'll be great. Because God says your business will prosper. Because God says you should get promoted. You should get promoted, but what time do you even allocate to the project you've been given? You're spending 5 minutes on your project and 30 minutes on social media, and yet you're expecting that you'll be promoted. Right? But God has given you that spirit of excellence, but are you applying yourself to it? So to what extent? So I feel like it's that understanding that you have a certain identity in God to meet high standards that will make people notice. Because all the places where you see spirit of excellence on Daniel, it was people that were telling him. He didn't say he has a spirit of excellence. It was people that identified it because he exhibited a level of brilliance, a level of influence. He was excellent, right? And I think that those are some of the things that maybe you can look into as you look to imbibe, quote unquote, the spirit of excellence or live excellently. Yeah.
You mentioned mindsets. I think Kenny also mentioned mindsets. And it's funny how, in green room conversations, I have a green room conversation with some of the founders I speak to on the podcast, and there's a general consensus, so to speak, that Ghanaians, Ghanaian employees are not exactly excellent. They are not the best of employees you may have. Especially, they're just notorious reputation Ghanaian craftsmen have, these plumbers and electricians. People rather go all the way to Togo to bring people in to do their work for them, right? There's also there's recently, a few days ago, I was talking with a friend and he was like, doing excellent business in Ghana or offering excellent service in Ghana as a business is a competitive advantage because majority of the people are not doing it.
Yeah.
You see, and I'm asking this question because this is a predominantly Christian nation, Christian people. Why do we have this reputation on an individual level and as institutions? It's like Ghanaian businesses or Ghanaian employees are synonymous to non-excellence. And this is a Christian nation, heavily Christian nation. What do you think is going on? What do you think is wrong? Kenny?
Hi, Bill. If I caught the question, you're asking me why Ghanaians have the reputation of not being excellent.
Yes,
Is
even
that it?
though we are a Christian, heavily Christian nation.
You're going to let me enter another part of my life that I don't want to talk about. But I think that as a nation, we have failed to build the right kind of culture. Even as regardless of whether you're Christian or not. Like I said, I'm really trying not to enter my my
Please, please,
political
please
bag,
enter.
but that's one of the things that we have failed to do as a nation. Um, the reason why it's easy for us to say, let's go to Togo and get someone from there to come and if we get, let's say, an appliance from Asia, I know that it will last a certain way because XYZ. It's because that is the accepted culture. That's what they do. They invest time and effort into putting out a certain kind of output. Um, in certain countries, you cannot litter. It's not because you are not tired of holding the rubbish. It's because that's the culture. You don't litter. But unfortunately, Ghana has the reputation of talking about being Christian and talking about serving God, but our fruits do not point to excellence. In fact, if you are excellent, Ghanaians will say you're doing too much. Oh, yeah, baby, do. Yeah, yeah, it's okay. You are being too extra because we accept the barest minimum, and that reflects in the quality of leaders we have. That's why I said I'm trying not to enter the political bag, because if you take me there, it will move from this to being active citizens. So I'm trying to stay here. But yes, I think it's because we haven't made the culture one that appreciates and expects excellence. So excellence is more of it's a surprise. Oh wow, you actually did the thing excellently. Surprise, I didn't expect that. And unfortunately, we keep celebrating mediocrity and ignoring the. It should be. We should look at excellence as something we aspire to, and it should be from the base minimum. But everyone is hoping as much as they can without doing too much work. And for me, it's a culture thing, regardless of whether you are Christian or not. Because yes, people say they are Christian, but as we can see, the fruits don't bear that. But even those who aren't Christian also have that same problem. So I really think it's a failing on our part as people to prioritize the right things.
Um, how do we fix that, Anna? How do you think we can fix that as a collective? How can we fix that mindset? You know, and so that we are intentional about building a culture of excellence, a culture that appreciates excellence. You know, that points to God. The other nations, our neighboring nations, will say, "Hey, these people carry the spirit of excellence." How can we fix that as a collective?
Yeah.
So because this is a Christian gathering,
So
I would say that.
I'm thinking a
Oh,
few
you're asking
things. I'm
Anna. My
thinking
apologies, please.
the plumber you were talking about, the carpenter, the tailor, the business owner, the secretary, whoever. When you wake up in the morning, get ready. Um, you get ready for work. You travel 2-3 hours to where you're working, and you get there. Why did you wake up that early? Why are you striving? I think people don't take time to ask themselves why they are doing what they are doing, right? You've been in business for 2 years, 1 year, 6 years, you've been employed somewhere. Like, why? I think that's the missing part where people don't know why they are doing what they are doing. Or we don't pause to ask ourselves why we are doing what we are doing. And what that does for you when you pause or when you have, quote unquote, a vision, it will direct you. It will help you know that, look, I am doing this for this purpose and this is the result I want. You won't necessarily wait for applause. When applause come, you take them, that's fine, but you won't end there, right? If you win an award right now, will you stop your podcast? You won't.
I might.
Well, I don't think you should. But many people win awards every year in their businesses and they don't stop business operations, right? They keep working harder. They set new benchmarks, right? People have like 10-year strategy plans. Once they reach there, they set another ambitious goal. We are not doing that in our individual lives. We are not doing that in our small businesses. We are just going. And as we keep going, that's what will happen, right? But the first thing is, even where you are as an individual, because to be able to do this in masses, that's $1 million question. But I think that that's a ripple effect that you can have as an individual wherever you are, right? Wherever you are, start from yourself. If you're in a team that is mediocre and you realize that you're doing the same thing, can you step back and just reflect? you don't need to stop that job, but you probably need to start feeding your mind with something that is of higher standard. How many books are you reading on excellence, on doing business well, on thriving in your career? How many things are you listening to? How much of the word are you reading? You know, how are you feeding yourself? Because not to say it in a mean way, but if there's garbage in, there's garbage out. The same way, if you're starving yourself of good things in terms of aiming high, thinking big, dreaming big, which requires excellent work, which requires a certain level of brilliance, you need to step up. You can't keep going the way you're going. And I think that that's part of where we need to start doing our homework from.
Yeah. The question I'm going to ask is, you probably have given the answers in this response you've given, but just for clarity, right? So I'm a business owner, right? Let's go back to me being a doctor. And now I've heard this, and I admit that my career or my business is in a mess. It's chaotic. I could do better. I could strive for more. If I wake up this morning or tomorrow morning, what should I start doing in taking the path to excellence? Can you hear me? Hello,
Yes, I just heard you mention my name. I just heard you. Can you hear me? Before then, I couldn't hear you.
Oh wow, I was saying that. So given the response Anna gave, I'm just trying to ask the question that. So, assuming as a business person, someone who has a career, and now I have admitted that hey, my life, my career, and my business is in a chaotic place. I want to strive for more. What actionable steps should I take when I wake up tomorrow morning and say, hey, I want to this excellent thing people are talking about. I want to pursue it. What do I do?
Okay. So the first thing is, because this is a Christian gathering, I would say you must go to God with this desire. Go to Him and say, Father, I want to represent you well, and I want my life and this business to bear the fruits of excellence. And then submit yourself willingly to the process, because he already wants us to represent him excellently. So once you do that, you'd realize that he will give you opportunities to exhibit that excellence. But another thing to do is to spend time in the word of God, studying the people in the Bible that were excellent, studying the people in the Bible that were shrewd, studying the people in the Bible that were lazy, so that you can pick your do's and don'ts. And then, most importantly, putting that into practice. It's one thing to say that I want to be excellent, and it's another thing to tell your company that from now on, it's now our policy that everybody must exhibit excellence by doing this. It doesn't take more than 48 hours for you to respond back to someone's email request. We don't take any bribes. We don't give any bribes. We don't lie to our clients. We don't do this. That kind of excellence, you as the leader must take the forefront by modeling it and inspiring the rest of your team to go ahead to do the same. Because, like Anna said, other people saw it and said, Daniel was excellent. So it's important for you to be doing, because very often we will read the books and never get to the point of doing. We read all the books, bookmark everything, highlight the thing, probably put a quote on our WhatsApp status and say, this is my year of excellence. But if we don't get to the point where we are doing, there will be very little evidence for someone else who's looking at us to say this person must be doing this because God is with them. This person's fruits radiates God's excellence. So you as a leader go to God, and then once you receive the insights, model it and inspire your team to do the same thing.
Want to touch on that a little? How do we lock the Gen Zs will say, how do I lock in on excellence?
How do you lock in? Um, Do everything Kenny has said. Dream big. When you go to God, He'll give you a big dream, an ambitious dream. I don't think God gives small dreams and small things. You have to start from a place of seeing that there's a promise ahead of something ambitious, something bold, something different. You need to have your personal and individual dream, and it must be big. Overemphasizing it. Very, very, very big. Bigger than you think you can carry, right? And another thing that might... another thing is be a good friend. And pray for good friends.
Community.
Yes. Your community is so important. And sometimes we think, oh, we just need to find the people that will help us. But how many people do we want to help? Okay. Because I think the more we find ourselves, especially as believers, the more we find ourselves showing love to the other, love your neighbor as yourself, right? Or love your neighbor as God would. Your coat of, you sew a substandard dress on their wedding day. Imagine, like, really, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So you would aim to do it the best way you can because you're doing it for yourself. So be a good friend and pray for good friends. God sends angels as friends, right? Friends that will help you dream bigger, show you how high quality things look like, whether it's doing a good marketing thing, whether it's studying to get to a certain level, whatever it is, whether you're in career, business, whatever, in an employee, wherever you are. I feel like a good friend can lead you to see what excellence looks like in terms of quality, exposure, and it starts by being a good friend. And another thing would be take small steps to practice excellence, right? If you know that you are under pressure and you need to submit your work today, or you've been asked to deliver, and this happens to a lot of small businesses, you've been given a very big order, it's due tomorrow, I can do it. And when the product comes, the label is turned halfway, like it's really bad. You will not get that order again.
Yeah.
Commit to saying, I cannot take this order.
Yeah.
You will let it go. It's hard. But the people will respect you and recommend you another time. Maybe it'll also get you thinking, how can I put in structures? So take mini steps to strive for excellence. And another thing would be, let's start getting comfortable asking for feedback. I found myself in church even giving feedback, or outside of church giving feedback, but even more in church. And sometimes even among ourselves as believers, we don't want to take feedback that is trying to correct us. Especially when it comes to striving for excellence. You're working with people and they're like, oh, let's just do it anyhow. Let's just do this. No level of preparation. You will not even do your job that way. Okay, so I feel like we need to at least start taking some of those baby steps, and we might be on track.
Just touching on what you said about when you go to God, God gives you a big dream. Remember a couple of years ago, I saw this verse that changed my mind. 1 Corinthians 3:22. Saying that Apollos nor safe us, nor the world, nor life, nor death, nor the present, nor the future, nor the world, but all are yours. Like present, future, time, the world itself, everything He has made, all are mine, and I am His, and He's of good. And anytime I feel like I'm winning in audacity to just attempt big things, I'm reminded of that scripture that the world is mine for the taking. And to all of us as believers, like the world is really ours for the taking.
Yep.
And so it's Kenny who mentioned the issue with books, right? It's in light of taking actionable steps. Are there books you would recommend, for those of us who want to lock in hard? You would suggest we read, outside the Bible, of course. Kenny, would you want to take it as far as book recommendations on excellence in light of taking actionable steps? Hello, Kenny, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. So one of the books I would recommend that isn't the Bible is there's this book called The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. It's by Stephen Covey. It's I think it has enough of an outline for you to become personally and professionally effective. To for want of a better word, to represent God well, and to represent yourself even well. I also think that one of the things that we should do is to actively seek out people who are living a life of excellence and just glean from them. What Anna said about having good friends who can teach you high standards. One of the things I try to do is I have something called an advisory board. They don't know that they are on a board, but they are. They are people who excel in different parts of their lives that I aspire to excel like. And so I use that proximity to glean certain lessons that you will never get in a book, you will never hear in a talk, you will never hear in a certain kind of session, but they will still model that out for you to say, I never thought of it this way. I never did that way. I should probably take that example and do that. So, books by all means, but if you can find excellent people in your life to ambush, for want of a better word, it always helps you to like just by looking at their lives, pick up all sorts of things that help you to improve your own excellence.
It's called Think Big:
Okay.
Unleashing Your Potential for Excellence by Ben Carson. It's I think he's a surgeon. I can't remember what specialty it is, but
Everybody wanted to become Ben Carson.
everybody, yes. And I think up until now, I read that book years ago, but it imprinted something in me that still sticks even to today. That look, I can read every single book in the world, and there'll still be space for more in my brain. Right? I think he was a brain surgeon. So for me, that means that I can't say I'm tired. I can't give excuses for excellence. Um, you just need to keep striving and create the capacity to take on what you require to be excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a couple of curious questions. I'm just curious, especially in your lines of work. Kenny, you help build brands. Then Anna, you help businesses build and scale across the continent. So I'll start with Kenny, right? Especially in a world where packaging is a thing. You know, people package settings. You know, we live by settings. We give them what they want to see, and then they are entertained. And how do we balance on a personal level, like authenticity, and putting up an image? How do you help your clients navigate that, like it's authenticity and putting up an image? Because of course, putting up the image is going to bring in attention and help you fake it till you make it, right? But how do you help with them? I'm just curious on that front.
So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I think you heard me say at some point that I'm very lazy. And I tell my friends all that all the time. It's not because I think it's disgraceful. It's because I'm being very honest. I it's not something I want to keep in my life, but I want you to understand that that's the base from which I am operating, so that as I continue to improve, it it demonstrates the fact that I have overcome the thing I have spoken to you about. So for someone else, it could just be I'm not very time conscious. And just admitting that puts you in a certain place, especially if you're committed to excellence, to put in the effort to become better at managing your time. But when I am dealing with my clients, what I tell them all the time is authenticity is the best place to start from if you're building a brand. If you come across as completely perfect, the truth is everybody will know there's something you're hiding. There's something you're not, because nobody is perfect unless you are Jesus. And I find that most of the time people do the settings to the point where it is now inauthentic. It is very clear that this is not who you really are, and someone who is close enough to you is looking at you and probably thinking, look at how she's deceiving all of you, or whatever it is, because it's evidence that that is not the true thing. um I try to also say that it doesn't necessarily mean that you must open up your whole life and say, hi, come and see, this is what my bedroom looks like, this is what this is the last time I brushed my teeth, in a bid to be authentic. No, you must be wise in applying the I want people to see my life and how it bears fruit, but it must ultimately point back to God. So I keep saying that pointing back to God because for me, that's what helps. It's very easy to do settings. Okay, nice dress, nice speech, everything. If it only points to, oh wow, she's so great. No. But if I tell you how I am battling, let's say I have overcome depression to be able to do that same thing you are seeing me do. The point of it reflecting God, helping me to become that person that you now look at and admire, points back to Him. It points back to this could only have been done if God was with her. And for me, that's how I approach this on my personal level. If you spend time on my socials, I don't hide it when I'm struggling. Not It's not like I'll come and tell you, hi, I'm going through it, people of God, this is what has happened to me. No, but I do say I'm tired. This time it's tough. And then I even carry my audience along in the when I go to God, this is what I hear. I don't see it, but I trust Him. In fact, one of my hashtags is watch my Jesus work. It is evidence of the fact that life is lashing me, but I'll still do whatever I have to do because God is working through me. So that's how I navigate being authentic without being telling everyone your bedroom business, and but also representing God by showing other people how it's the same difficult things, the same deep waters, the same struggles, but my advantage is the person who walks on water is walking with me. So by the time you see me on the other side, when I walk through the fire, you will not see that I have been through the fire, and that is what will point glory back to God. But I find that most people just do the I was never in the fire. I was born perfect. And that inauthenticity, one robs God of manifesting his glory in your life. And two, it's just not true. So as I'm sitting here right now, I'm going through it. But the Lord is helping me to come and speak about excellence today. And perhaps after this, I'll go and cry and I will improve upon myself and go back and sit in his presence. Whatever it is, the point is, it's not perfection. It's constantly drawing strength from him through the difficult things to point glory to him. So that's what I'll say.
Thank you. Anna, so you have done extensive work by with like entrepreneurs, like business leaders, training entrepreneurs across the African continent, right? How do you think the kingdom values, can shape our approach to like making business decisions and strategy, across board? I'm just curious about that.
Um, Kingdom values need to be embodied, right? And I think at the beginning of the conversation, I was big on saying whoever the leader or the founder of an organization is plays a big role in how you thrive. So if you as the leader, even if you're not running a business but you're working for someone, whatever you're embodying is translating into your products. So if you're preparing a report, if you are doing sales for your employer, if you are manufacturing, whatever it is you find yourself doing, whoever you are, you're bearing fruit. So if you see something is bad, then it means you're not feeding yourself what will allow you to bring out something good. Um, and so it's critical that we really look at what we are feeding ourselves with. So what kingdom value, you should embody every kingdom value, but for your business, what are the 1, 2, 3 things that you can write out, put somewhere, remind yourself every day that this is what I'm trying to aim at, such that it will help people know that it's God I serve.
Yeah.
Secondly, it will make people come and ask me, what are you doing? How are you able to do this thing differently? When we are able to set those high standards of kingdom values and know them for ourselves, we'll be able to share them with others, right? We'll be able to live them out. And another thing is sincerity. Sincerity. And Kenny spoke a bit about not trying to fake anything at any point in time. I think that for your business, you need to learn to be sincere. You need to learn to have integrity and honesty. If you're able to put those things at the front and center, right, knowing that you're seeking to please God, but also you need to win men. Look, your business is trying to compel people to God. Even if you are not saying, come to Jesus now, everything, every work of your hands, someone must see this bar of chocolate, say, my goodness, the unique taste, my goodness, this label. And you know that this label was born out of prayer, and believers are going to buy it. People are going to come and say, teach me how to do this. And then you can also transfer or teach them your kingdom values. So it's a few of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, friends, I think I've done a fairly okay job representing you guys with questions and trying to probe the landscape you're in. So it's time to take some questions. We take about 3 questions from the audience. So, do you have any questions in so far? We'll be inviting questions from the audience at this point. While the questions are coming, Kenny, can you hear me, Kenny? I want to know. I mean, aside you've been a big proponent and preacher of everybody getting a headshot in this life. I want to know, like, aside that, if I'm as a person, what can I do to elevate my personal brand? We've established that packaging is good. All right, fair and square. What can I do? Some 3 steps to take, 3 things to consider from tomorrow to elevate my personal brand.
So the first thing is to assess what that brand is. I find that people just think I want to elevate, but you can only elevate from a certain base. So understand what the base is before you even go to the point of trying to improve upon it. So do some facts finding. Ask people about yourself. What do they know about you? What do they think about you? Um, what do they associate you with? All those are data points that help you to figure out how I can build that brand. Then decide where you want to head to. So after you gather it, you probably hear, oh, I think you are really great at, let's say, rallying people together, but your temper is a very big problem. Or it can be that I think that it takes you a while to fit in, but once you fit in, you are the person that gets the project done. All those help you to figure out who you are, and then you can try and direct it towards what you want to become. So there's where you are and what you want to get to. That should be your North Star. So try and figure out in the next 5 to 10 years, what would I want my life to look like? What do I want people to say when I ask them this question? And once you figure out those two, the third step would be the steps that you will take to get closer to that. So it could be that in my case, one of the things I want to do is in the next 10 years, I want to be a thought leader when it comes to political communication, when it comes to brand building across Africa. So I'm sure you can see from my content on socials the kind of steps I'm taking to get me closer to that. So that's what you can do. Figure out where you are, where you want to be, and then put in the actionable steps that get you closer. The reason why I'm not giving you anything specific is because everybody's brand differs. Everybody's brand is different from the next person's. And what you want to achieve is very different. For some people, they may be in a phase of, I'm not trying to be visible at this point. I just want to build my capacity in, let's say, accounting. So then take the steps towards building that capacity in accounting while you scroll and watch me on Instagram talking about personal branding because that's part of my goals. So everyone's goals will be different, but the most important thing is you keep, should I say, you take consistent steps towards whatever it is you want to achieve. Because we can talk about all the things. You can buy a course from me or spend time with me or watch something online and say, I'm going to do something. But if you are not consistent in hitting those data points, 10 years will come and you will not have achieved the thing you wanted to do to elevate your brand. So those would be my 3 takeaways.
Okay, that's why I shamelessly plug in myself and get free brand audit. So you know me as a podcaster to a certain degree. I want you to audit my brand as it stands now. What do you think I can do better as a podcaster? You see me on the internet. What would you suggest?
Bill, this conversation is it's a conversation you and I should have after today. But one of the things I would say is I don't think we know enough about you as the podcaster. So we know about your podcast because of the people that you bring onto it. But I don't think I know enough about you, the person, to make me understand why you started the podcast, why you are this committed to having these kind of conversations. And that shouldn't necessarily only be on the podcast. So on your socials, for instance, I should get a sense of who Bill is beyond the personal podcast. And that should give me a deeper understanding of why the podcast is the way it is. So that would be my social media answer. But you and I can have a deeper conversation after
Okay.
this.
All right. Thank you. So we have a question. The question is, I think I'll ask Kenny. Ken, this question is for you. How can I strategically build visibility and a personal brand when I'm uncomfortable with social media? That's me speaking. And hesitant to put myself out there through content creation, be it on LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. It's a question from Daniel.
Hi, Daniel. Unfortunately, what I would say is every kind of response I will give you comes with some sort of discomfort. Um, Even if you are not comfortable putting yourself on social media, newsflash, you may not believe it, but even I sometimes feel uncomfortable putting myself out on social media. Sometimes I feel it's okay, you've put out enough content. It's okay, sit down. Like, you don't need to talk again this week. But when I look at what I want to achieve, I ask myself at every point in time whether I'm getting closer to that goal or not. And I let the desire for what I want to achieve push me rather than the discomfort. But if you are not a talker like me, what you can do is find ways to build that visibility without necessarily taking a camera and saying, "Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel," or "Thank you for joining my life." One of those things would be um, strategic networking, in person networking. Because what you want to do is to be visible enough for the most important people making decisions to know that you exist. So if you are not the kind of person that wants to put it out for the whole world to see, then find the people who need to know and make actionable steps privately to get to know them and for them to get to experience your mind and your expertise. And then the second thing would be sometimes there's even things like comments. Comments on LinkedIn are a very good way to um, build visibility because LinkedIn has a way of actually projecting comments. Sometimes you see that they'll tell you it has, let's say, 200 impressions, which is sometimes even more impressions than the post that you put out. Maybe you had just 10 likes on your post, but you had 200 impressions. That's 200 eyeballs on a comment. So even your comments can build you visibility and influence. Just be intentional with how you comment and what you comment on, and then strategically, should I say, align yourself with certain people. So the people who have attained visibility and knowledge in certain places that you want to go into, find a way to associate yourself with them. It could be by volunteering in person, it could be by supporting them with a project that they are running. All those things, find a way of opening that door of association for you with them simply because of the clouds they have built for themselves. So those are some of the things that do not require taking out a camera and ring lights, but can also help you to build some visibility. I hope that helps.
Yes. This is from Dan. Dan said, "Business in general is hard here in Ghana. It seems harder." But then, so what what are honesty and what is the honest and Christian way to cut cost and make progress? So I know of a few and in quotes dishonest ways, and it is justified as back back back.
I like your question.
Yeah.
It's God that blesses the work of our hands. I don't have like a secret sauce for you.
Mm.
It's God that blesses the work of our hands. So who are you serving? Right? If you want to allow the harsh demands of the systems to be what you get results from, this is how you'll feel.
Okay.
But if you know, just like what Psalm 24 says, and just like the scripture you said says that the earth is the Lord's, we need to probably do more by bringing our identity into our businesses. The earth is the Lord's. So which sector, first off, which agency, where are you trying to go to that's so tough that you can't go to? You need to know that there's nowhere like that. Everywhere is accessible. You need to bring your audacious faith a bit more into your business. I would say audacious faith plus your work ethic of excellence. Right? I strongly believe that as you pursue that and ask God to bless the work of your hands, so far, based on the people I know in business today, some of which have been in business for over 35 years, they are in the middle of places where they need to pay all sorts of things and they haven't been doing it. And God is blessing the work of their hands. They're having to say no, it's tough, but they know that they have an audacious faith to work with and they're also working excellently. So let your work speak. Let your prayer work for you. and carry yourself like you know that you have that great excellence in you. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Next question is from Ernest. Ernest is asking, Kenny, this is yours. Ernest said he runs a restaurant business. How can he brand himself properly? Or should he book a branding session?
So for Keith, what I would say is, if this is visibility for himself, then what he needs to do is to show us that he understands food and he understands why food would matter to people. Unless, of course, he's talking about visibility for the restaurant. So if he can confirm that, but if it's for himself, then he must let us
I think
understand
it's a
what he
restaurant.
knows about food. Um, okay, so if it's for the restaurant, then I would say then the food, one, should be great, and two, the experience should be great, and then he must go about actively telling that story of what makes the food great. Maybe it's attention to detail in how they put the food together, and that is why even if you order it on a Tuesday at 5 p.m., it tastes the same as if you order it on a Sunday at noon. Then it should be spotlighting the people that he works with, how he's working with them to create that kind of life. He should also focus on the people that come there, the people who come there, create the experience for them to make them feel like this is the best place to come to. You heard my son in the background. I am constantly looking for places where I can take my child to that are accommodating. So if that's something for you, that could be your competitive advantage. Talk about that so that working as a parents know that it's a place they can take their children to and their children will be welcome. And you go to some places and the child is being a child and people are looking at you like, oh, you two, why did you bring your child here? If for instance, if your restaurant has the
Oh,
all times, so that it draws those kind of people to you. Another thing is the art of storytelling. Tell stories about your brand. What makes your restaurants the restaurants? Why did you set it up? There are 10,000 other restaurants in Ghana. Why did you set up your restaurant? Tell us about that story. Always finding a way, the good way to, the indication that you're telling a good story is if we can feel a sort of connection. So I something. So find a way to tell that story in a compelling way that makes your audience feel something, and that's what will have a meal there. But if it's for you as an individual who runs a restaurant, I would say tell us about you and why you are running the restaurant. Kind of like what I said for Bill. Help us to understand why you decided to take up the risk of running a business that delivers food and experiences to people, and share that story. It will resonate with the people you're trying to connect with. Most of the time, that will give you that competitive advantage. Yeah.
okay. Keith,
Don't mind Keith.
as a venture capitalist, what can I do to raise funds for my restaurant business?
You need to know what you're raising the funds for, first of all. What you're raising the funds for will help you to know who you should speak to. That'll be my very short answer. But I'll have like hundreds of questions for him, because before you start looking out, what have you done within to even try and grow or scale up before you start looking out? And then when you start looking out, many investors will say it's like a marriage. So you need to be able to feel out, do I like this investor? Do they like me? Before there's a match. So it's a whole journey, but then it starts with knowing what you need the investment for how long, what's your exit plan, and then we can figure out a good strategy.
there's a follow up for you from Dan. Dan Bot. I don't know if Dan is a bot, but for SME businesses, what are the key evaluation metrics that they want to know the key evaluation metrics that these partners look out for?
It's a trick question you're asking. I think every agency has what they are looking for. Okay. At minimum, bring your full excellence to the table, i.e., you should be able to show high quality work. You should be able to warrant what you're asking for. So even just a few months ago, I was speaking to a young business that was trying to raise, I think it was just around $100,000 or $300,000. And I asked them, how much revenue have you ever made? Like your highest possible revenue. I don't think it was up to $30,000 a year. Yes, they felt they warranted $300,000. And I think that's tends to be the first mistake we sometimes make. Except somebody wants to give you that amount of money, most of the time for contracts, you need to be able to warrant it by showing what you've done before. And 30,000 and 300,000 are quite far apart. So you need to be able to show, okay, I have done an annual revenue of 30,000 and I'm raising money for 30,000. Then I'm raising money for 50,000 before you progressively get there. Unfortunately, that's how many of these agencies work. Another thing is, some of them, beyond what people will think, like you need to know someone in and all of that, which may or may not be true depending on which agency you're talking about. I think another thing you need to show a lot, which people don't, is your person. Investors look out for persons, just like how agencies look out for who is the person behind, who is the face behind it. What are the values you have? How do you show those values? Even in your proposal, do you talk about your values or you just go straight to talking about your work? Because sometimes that's the differentiator.
Thank you. Kenny, this is yours. This is from Robin. Robin is asking for pastors. Would you give a pastor or ministry, what tips would you give to a pastor or ministry concerning branding? And do you think pastors need to have such conversations on brand and brand positioning?
Yes, I do. I think that pastors need to have such conversations. One, because I always say that Jesus had a personal brand. I think I did a case study on this on my socials. He was clear on what he was delivering, he was clear on who he was associating with, he was clear on the mission, he was consistent with the touch points at every point. It's either your sins are forgiven, do you believe? Like it was clear. So even Jesus, who we seek to emulate, had a personal brand. Though it was a very intentional brand. He won't do what does not align with what he came to do, even if the whole world wants him to do it. They expected him to go and come and humble the people that were bullying them and then bring the Israelites in this very dramatic warlike way. But he knew his assignment was to die, and he came to die, even to the point where Peter was trying to bring a little violence into the action. He healed the person. So if someone can heal the person on the way to die, obviously he can skip death if he wants to, but he was committed to that. So what I'm trying to say is, even Jesus took his personal brand seriously, and it's important that Reverend ministers do that, especially now because one, pastors and shepherds represent God in a certain way. And if you are intentional about it, you would see that you will put in the effort to represent God even better. Um, Another thing is people find connections better with humans. So if you take a look at all the churches chances are that their pastors who have been intentional about their personal brands even have a larger following than the church does. And most of the time, it's because sense of relation, that sense of connection with another human being. So, as a pastor, you'd be interested to know that half the people who are even following you aren't Christian. So, that could also be a touch point for you to minister to them by how you live your life, how you put out content, how you navigate problems. Sometimes just do a question and answer session on, let's say, navigating relationships or navigating money. Why would they listen to you if you haven't built the brand of I'm wise, this comes from the word of God, and I will not say anything that does not represent the word of God? That's how they will build their trust to even want to understand you, get to know this God you say you represent, and that might actually be another form of evangelism. So, by all means, pastors should take it seriously. They should take their online presence as seriously as they take what the church looks like, as in what the building structure looks like. Because in this online generation, most people experience God completely online. And this may be another avenue for you to model God's love and his restoration towards somebody. So, definitely online, team online.
Thank you. I think we'll take final words from Kenny and Anna. So Kenny, you go first, since before you turn off your video, as you usually do. Kenny, give us your final words.
Final words. Ha. Excellence is not achieved in a day. Um, and very often it comes through submitting yourself to the process. And it's not a smooth route, but once we commit to it and once we ask God to help us, the truth is we will manifest the fruits of what he has called us to do. And other people will testify of that. And I don't speak as someone who actually considers herself excellent. So I'm surprised that I was invited to speak on this, which maybe is like what Daniel is saying, Daniel was doing. But for me, it tells me that people are always watching you. People are always looking at your life, directly or indirectly, and they are drawing lessons from it. So make sure that those lessons, as always, point to God, his goodness, his mercy, his excellence, and his ability to elevate somebody. Anna said something that excited me. She said, God is the giver of wealth, he's the lifter of men. And that's the truth. So we can say everything that we want to say, but at the end of it, the ultimate person is God. And if your life in the small things is radiating him, he will continue to steer you into the bigger things. And it will be for his glory. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Kenny. Anna.
Final words. I would say allow God to work with you. Allow him to work with you to show forth his greatness to the world. Allow God to work with you to disrupt world norms and bring in his mind. Allow God to work with you to bring transformation. So many people's lives depend on us. We just need to allow God to use us to bring change. Change in our departments, change to our employees, change through our businesses, our products, our services. Allow God to use you. Allow God to work with you to make an indelible impact. Yeah.
Thank you. So friends, friends here in the studio and those joining us live, it's been a remarkable conversation to say the least. And unless it's going to happen again, we're going to have subsequent episodes. And so we hope that you just hit that little subscribe button for us and push the notification button. We're not going to bother you a lot, just small, and help you unearth the potential God has given you. And so It was nice having you. It was a great session. Kenny, thank you for joining us online. I would have loved to have you in person, but I'll catch you next year, as I told you. And then Anna, God bless you so much. And so,
Thank you.
see you again in the next episode. Thanks.
Bye.
Have you ever felt like your faith should mean something more in the marketplace? Like it should shape the way you lead, build, innovate, and serve? For many Christian entrepreneurs and professionals, there's a gap between what we believe and what we build. We carry purpose, gifting, and vision, yet we sometimes struggle to make it evident and excellent in our work. Well, that's why Unearthed exists. Unearthed is a faith-driven platform dedicated to empowering and inspiring entrepreneurs to reveal God's excellence in the marketplace. Our initiative was founded on a simple but profound belief that believers are called to express creativity, diligence, and integrity in every sphere of business and work. We believe faith was never meant to be confined to Sunday. It is a leadership advantage, a source of innovation, a foundation for excellence. Unearthed was born out of a desire to bridge the gap, to help Christians not only dream. The world doesn't just need more businesses, it needs businesses that reflect integrity. Well, the world doesn't just need more leaders, it needs leaders with character, consistency, and compassion. And the marketplace doesn't just reward ideas, it rewards excellence, courage, and stewardship. There's a growing generation of believers who are gifted, trained, and talented, but seeking a space where faith and strategy meet, where devotion fuels execution, where spirituality and industry are not separated but synchronized. Unearthed is that space. Since its inception, Unearthed has served as a catalyst for Christians seeking to align their purpose, faith, and professional pursuits. Through carefully curated events, conversations, and networking opportunities, we create room for faith-driven professionals to gain clarity, receive perspective, exchange wisdom, and build relationships that matter. At Unearthed, we encourage participants to merge spiritual insight with practical business strategy, creating value that reflects both competence and character. Whether through thought-provoking discussions, real stories from the field, or the wisdom of experienced leaders, we want people to walk away knowing my faith is not a limitation, but in fact, it is a catalyst. We believe God's excellence should be visible in the way we serve clients, in the products we deliver, in the systems we build, in the culture we lead, and even in the legacy we leave. Excellence is not perfection, but it is a commitment to progress, to stewardship, and to responsibility. Our vision is to raise a generation that does not only talk about faith, but translates faith into visible results, sustainable business, ethical leadership, and solutions that impact the world. If you are an entrepreneur with a dream that God has placed in your heart, if you're a professional who knows you are called to more, if you desire community, clarity, accountability, and inspiration, we invite you to journey with us. Subscribe to the Unearthed community. Join our event